We are live, everybody, and yes, we are still alive. Welcome, everyone, to the NoDQ review number 87. I'm Aaron Rift of NoDQ.com. Let me introduce our moderator. Everybody, give a round of applause to the great David, aka Virtue. How's it going, man?
What's up, Aaron? Hey, I just ordered my case of 80 rolls of toilet paper to be delivered to my front door. Now I just hope my neighbors don't try to steal it. What's up, everybody? This is a No DQ review. Big G, what number? 87?
80. I want to say 86.
86? 86, 87, 88. We're on our way to 100. But right now we are live here during the coronavirus outbreak. And I am Virtue, being joined by Big G, Aaron Rift, and back for the second week in a row, Son. What's up, everybody? Big G, I'll start with you because you haven't been on for a few. What up?
I'm doing pretty good. Been working a lot lately these past couple weeks. You know, handing out hand sanitizer and hand wipes to everybody. Building a shed, getting my hands a little bit dirty. Other than that, we got some wrestling to discuss. Son, how you doing, brother?
Doing good. I am definitely feeling the effects. I actually had an orchestra. For you guys, anyone out there, Dragon Ball fans, there was going to be a Dragon Ball orchestra coming out to Chicago, and they just announced that got canceled because the orchestra, who is in Japan, had a hard time getting here. So I'm starting to see it, and they had the St. Patrick's Day parade also got canceled out here in Chicago.
It's nuts, man. Sporting events, and our main event today, stay tuned, save your chats for later, will be about Wrestlemania and other wrestling events affected by this virus. Aaron Rift, what's up?
It's been a busy couple of days for sure. A lot to discuss today. Tomorrow was supposed to be SmackDown in Detroit, but that has been canceled. At least the Detroit taping is canceled, and WWE will be airing SmackDown from the Performance Center without a live audience. Very interesting to see how that plays out. I'm a little sad that we actually will not have an audience because I would have loved to have seen the Full Sail audience there for SmackDown, see Roman Reigns and John Cena out there in front of the Full Sail crowd. That would have been really interesting, but I'm still curious to see what WWE does, and AEW also feeling the effects. They have rescheduled this coming Wednesday's Dynamite. It will no longer be in Rochester, New York. That will be postponed until July. Now they are doing Dynamite in Jacksonville, Florida, and they are having restricted attendance. So I guess some fans will be able to show up, but they're going to be really careful about who they let into the building. Now, we do have our first super chat here of the evening from Hamp Connell, and I guess this is for you, Virtue, maybe, or perhaps this is for everyone. He says, if you run out of toilet paper, Wrestlemania and Tampa shirts will be discontinued after it's canceled. Ouch.
Well, we're going to talk about that, okay? We will talk about that when we get to the main event. But first, speaking of toilet paper, speaking of bathrooms, I like to think of a pay-per-view WWE calls Elimination Chamber as the bathroom pay-per-view. That's what the Elimination Chamber is, if you think about it, a bathroom, a toilet. And this was the worst pay-per-view. Yes, I'm not talking about in-ring work. Just in terms of hype for WrestleMania, they just mailed it in. They didn't care. We knew Shayna Baszler was going to face Becky. That's why I thought she should have won the Royal Rumble. I digress. This was awful. I'm not criticizing the work. We know the wrestlers do what they need to do to perform. Just from a booking and a management standpoint, this was awful. The worst pay-per-view. I sat there and I was like, wow, this sucks. This is almost as bad as a bad Raw. Big G, I'll start with you because Shayna won, right? So I know you're going to put that over. But results aside, what did you think of this pay-per-view? I watched the whole thing, and they couldn't even give us one or two memorable things other than Shayna's domination. What do you think?
Yeah, that's the only thing that anybody's probably going to ever remember from that pay-per-view. Shayna Baszler dominating, choking everybody out. And yeah, I like Shayna Baszler. I've been a fan of her since she debuted at the Mae Young Classic, the very first one. And I'm just like you, Virtue. She should have won at WrestleMania at the Royal Rumble to face Becky. We all knew she was going to face Becky as soon as, she bit her neck and drew blood. So
And Charlotte still could be facing Rhea Ripley, right? She didn't need to win. Yeah,
Exactly.
We've talked about that.
And I mean, I did enjoy some of the other matches. I did enjoy, the Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak match. That was kind of mat wrestling. A little bit of psychology in there with Gulak working on Bryan's knee a little bit, and then Bryan coming back and eventually getting the win. He took that German suplex, and I was kind of like, ouch, But other than that, there really wasn't any much build for the other matches. You just had Super Showdown like 2 weeks prior. So they kind of, like you said, they threw everything together. Not much hype for WrestleMania. And I'm going to repeat it again. We all knew Shayna Baszler was going to win that Elimination Chamber match. That's all I have to say about that. Whoever's next.
Son, I'll go to you next. To me, the highlight of the show, and there's nothing wrong with this, but it's very cliche, was The Undertaker. The God, right? I mean, that portion of AJ Styles' match. And that's sad that in 2020 was the highlight of a pay-per-view. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, yeah, Taker definitely got the biggest pop out of everyone that night. Match of the night, I enjoyed the first one, Drew Gulak versus Daniel Bryan. I actually missed the first half. I only went back. I saw Aaron's review say it was a good match. I went back and I was very happy, very pleased with the match outside of the bumps that Daniel Bryan took. Some spots were cool in the tag team. Like we never saw anyone get thrown through the chamber like when Otis went through in the 18-year history of the match. So that was cool. The main event, I'm probably going to be in the minority about it, but I felt it was like Goldberg in 2003, except the person dominating went over. I thought they made Shayna look like a complete killer, gets her looking like a great threat for Ronda. Maybe I wish it was Ronda versus Becky, but for Becky, the only thing is I could see why some people felt the match drag. Instead of having her go one by one and waiting 5 minutes, then the next one, then another 5 minutes, maybe just have Shayna enter last, dominate everybody, get Asuka out, and then there you go. But yeah, I thought at least for what they did in the ending, it did what it needed to do to get Shayna over as a threat.
Now, Aaron, you know what I thought they should have done? If they wanted Shayna to squash this match, she wasn't the last one out, was she? She was out before. They should have, as cliche as this would have been, everybody should have been in there, and her pod was last. Then she comes out and cleans house, boom, 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 and it's over. There would not have been that downtime. Aaron, I know you've talked about this pay-per-view. Did anything else come up since your discussion that night?
I do agree with you about that match and how I think it should have been booked differently. The problem was that Shayna was standing out there and there's just this long moment of dead silence between her eliminating somebody and the next person coming out. I thought Bryan versus Gulak was the best match. I think if Shayna Baszler's match was a little bit more unpredictable, maybe if Nia Jax showed up or we had some sort of curveball in that match, I think I would have liked it more. But booking-wise, it was the right decision to build up Shayna. And the tag chamber was good. Not having the world titles on the line, I think really hurt this show too and just made it feel like a throwaway pay-per-view, which I think overall it was. The wrestling was fine for the most part. But yeah, I think that the circumstances with WWE changing plans hurt this show. Lack of crowd heat hurt the show. And we got so many other things to talk about that I pretty much forgot about Chamber already.
And we'll move on. But again, because it just happened Sunday, we have to talk about it on the following review. Hey, how about this? This is good news, right? Through all this virus stuff and all that. British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. Is this official? Go ahead, Aaron.
All right, before we get to Davey Boy Smith, Mo Camera, everybody's favorite Super Chat contributor, with the $2.79 Super Chat says, Shayna equals Baron Corbin, boring, bland, she will flop. Mo Camera, tell us who you love in WWE. Who do you think is the man of the hour? And I'm not talking about Brian Kendrick. Tell us who you think is the person that should be pushed in WWE, and that we can critique that person and break that person down. But anyways, let's move on here, guys. We're going to talk about Davey Boy Smith. So Virtue, go ahead. Yes, it is official.
Fantastic. Okay. Look, Owen Hart, like there's people that need to be in the WWE Hall of Fame, even though it's fictional. It's what Vince McMahon decides. Davey Boy Smith finally made it. I mean, he was one of my all-time favorites. It goes all the way back to the British Bulldogs as a tag team. Rest in peace to Davey Boy Smith and Dynamite Kid. But when I see people like this inducted, it sucks that obviously it's after they passed away. Davey's been passed away for a long time. But because you know that some of these guys, it means stuff to them because they're remembered one last time. But I'm glad. Son, I'm going to start with you. This is excellent to me. I like this kind of stuff, these inductions, more than NWOs and stuff like that. With all due respect to the big names and it's the Davey Boy Smiths that make the wrestling world go around. People like that. So what's your thoughts on him finally getting the nod this year?
It is a long time coming, just like when Randy Savage finally went in. I grew up early on as a kid. Bulldog was one of those first few wrestlers that I first saw, like with Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. He may have been, I think, even the first WWF at the time action figure I had when they had the little buff bendy dudes or whatever and stuff. But yeah, it's great to see. I was happy when he came back in the Attitude Era. He didn't quite get to be in the world title picture, and it was sad to hear. I was like 12 years old when I heard he passed away. And you know what? Had he lived, I'm pretty sure he probably would have gone in the Hall of Fame a lot sooner too. And everything. They probably were just going to wait for him to retire, but then it was unexpected. So it's just glad to see him finally take his rightful place in the Hall of Fame. I think we've got most of the Hart Foundation there. We just got Bryan and Owen, and I don't know if that'll ever happen, but it's almost there because they were just a complete overall Hall of Fame worthy group. So very happy for British Bulldog. It's a good day for longtime 90s and 80s fans.
Yep, I love it. Aaron Rift, what's your thoughts on this? And who do you think might induct them? I know that's not really a big deal, but sometimes it is if they pick the right person because they always have something very good to say. It makes sense of who's getting inducted.
All right, well, we do have a super chat here, which is on topic with that. Let me do the off-topic one first real quick from Mo Camera with a $7 Canadian super chat. Says, I hope WrestleMania gets canceled. I'm still mad over what they did to The Fiend. Well, I'm mad about it too. I feel bad about the situation with WrestleMania, but also there is the concern about the health and well-being of the general public. It's just a messy situation, and I feel bad for everybody involved. But yeah, I'm still mad about The Fiend, and that's just an unfortunate situation. And yeah, I guess Mo Camera likes The Fiend, and that's the guy that he thinks the company should be pushing as the top guy. And I agree with you, Mo Camera, on that, and I think we would agree with you on that as well. Now, Ked Terminated by Google with a $5 super chat says, how do you guys feel about WWE not putting Dynamite Kid in the WWE Hall of Fame with his cousin? As I said, Rift, I guess abusing his wife is like the Chris Benoit situation. So I'm really happy about the Bulldog going into the Hall of Fame. I think he definitely had a great career in WWE. And yeah, I feel bad Dynamite Kid's not in it because I think Dynamite Kid was a very influential wrestler for his time. And the British Bulldogs were one of the best tag teams of the 1980s. But of course, we all know the personal situation and what happened in Dynamite Kid's personal life. Bulldog had more longevity. You know, he had that run with the Dynamite Kid, but then he did his own thing as a single star. SummerSlam 92 with Bret Hart, Wembley Stadium. He came back and was part of the Hart Foundation storyline. He had a fairly lengthy career in WWE, and I'm very happy for him in it, and I'm just hoping Martha Hart will allow Owen to go in and we can get the entire Hart Foundation into the Hall of Fame. So thumbs up on the Bulldog finally going in.
Who might induct him? Bret?
I would say Bret. Bret seems to me like the logical choice.
Yeah. Now, Big G, what's your thoughts on this? A little bit before your time, but...
Yeah, I was still a young lad when British Bulldog was wrestling in his prime, and I did catch a little bit of his stint back in the Attitude Era, but we have the WWE Network now, so you can go back and watch some of his matches, which I've done, in the previous couple years, the match that Aaron mentioned with him and Bret, and some of the matches with the British Bulldogs and whatnot. I'm glad he's in. Like we all said, hopefully one day Owen will get in. As far as who might induct him, they might bring his son back, Davey Boy Smith Jr., just for that one night and induct him into the Hall of Fame.
That would be cool. But we'll see. I mean, Bret would be the sentimental.
Or even Natalia. If it's not Bret or Natalia.
Yep, and that's another good choice. Now, so speaking of like WWE Hall of Famers, Jake the Snake Roberts is in AEW, and boy, this is why I like watching Dynamite live, because I feel there's more unknown weekly because they're still new, relatively 3 or 4 months in. NXT, it's been the same for a while. You know you're going to get your wrestling feuds with your long wrestling matches. AEW, even though they do that too, there's just that little bit of unknown still. Yes, we're not getting CM Punk. I wanted to see Matt Hardy or Luke Harper, which we still could. We don't know. Jake came out last week, and then this week he ended up debuting his client, which is Lance Archer. He was in New Japan. He was Lance White in TNA. It's kind of like with Jake involved, I'm excited, right? I would have personally liked the Luke Harper to be in this, and who knows, maybe Jake brings in another guy. So, Aaron, what's your thoughts here? Like, I liked seeing this because Jake cuts good promos. Even Jake the Snake, after years of drug abuse, even though we know he's clean now, DDP yoga, there's something about it. Like, I do like that appeal. Like, we got Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard. It's got that old school connection to AEW. NXT really doesn't, other than they got William Regal, but all the people we know, Terry Taylor, if he's still there, Shawn, they're all backstage. They're not on the show. Aaron, what's your thoughts on Jake and his new client, Lance Archer? Lance Archer just doesn't excite me, but I'll give it time. We'll see what happens. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not really all that familiar with Lance Archer's work in recent years. I do remember some of his stuff as Lance Hoyt and didn't really stand out to me back then, but apparently he's improved a lot and he's made a name for himself. I think Jake could definitely give him the rub, and that's one of the things I like about AEW is that they take the legends and they utilize them well. They use the legends to elevate the younger talent rather than have the legends come in and basically take the spotlight. Hopefully AEW doesn't get to the point where Jake Roberts overshadows Lance Archer. That's the only thing I'm worried about. He came out on Dynamite this week and got this huge reaction, but it felt like the crowd cared more about him than Lance. So Jake is just such a great performer. Lance is really going to have to shine in this role, and hopefully he'll be able to do so with Jake and cut the kind of promos that make Lance that bigger of a superstar. But we'll see how it goes. I wish they maybe did something a little bit different as far as the review went, but for what it was, it's fine, and we'll see what the follow-up is. And definitely too early to really make a strong prediction about where this is going to go and if Lance Archer is going to be a big deal or not in AEW.
Now, Big G, I thought they should have milked this a little bit more so we had some mystery to it.
Yeah.
Because, I feel Jake said that last week, and this week he shows up with Lance Archer, and it felt important the first week when he cut the promo, and then here we are sitting next to, sitting down front row watching Cody, and I think that kind of watered it down a little bit. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I'm going to throw a little bit of something out here. So lately I've been, watching NXT and AEW both live. But lately I've been having AEW on my big screen TV and I've been watching NXT on my phone. So I've been watching, I love my NXT, but I've been paying a lot more attention to AEW in the past couple months. Now, as far as, Jake Robert and Lance Archer, I'm just like Aaron. The last time I saw this guy was back when he was in WWE, and I've heard great things about him when he was in New Japan and whatnot. Jake is a good mouthpiece for him. That way, Lance doesn't have to talk at all. Jake can cut the promos. Lance can go in the ring, do what he does best, wrestle. And they could have waited a little bit longer. Like you said, Virtue milked it out. But I like how, Lance tried to go over and Jake was like, no, not right now. And they walked away. I like that. That way, it's not like WWE where you have somebody come out right away and they ambush them or attack them from behind or whatever. They're trying to build up this storyline between Cody and I guess Jake. I guess they have some history. So we'll see what happens. It's still new. I'm actually, anticipating to see what happens next with Cody and Lance and Jake the Snake Roberts.
Well, there you go. Anticipation. That's what wrestling is all about. Like anticipating if WrestleMania will happen. But stay tuned for later in the video. Son, what's your take here on good old Jake the Snake?
But yeah, I'm not too familiar with Lance Archer. I've watched a couple of highlights and everything. He definitely looks unique compared to the other roster, so he's definitely going to stand out. And obviously, Jake the Snake Roberts is one of the all-time best on the microphone. Even at his age, after everything he's been through, still cutting some of the best promos we've seen. So it definitely is going to be a really great combination. I do feel that AEW could have done something a little bit better to basically, bring up some more suspense, basically, with this storyline, as opposed to just putting him right out there. But I think sometimes they tend to go like MJF. They didn't drag out MJF and Cody as long as they possibly could have. So I guess sometimes when it comes to Cody, they just want to make sure they start getting things kicked into order. But I think the storyline should be good because what they've done with Cody previously was excellent work. So I'm looking forward to it. Wish they could have dragged it out a little bit longer for some suspense, but I think we're in for some good stuff.
And supposedly, we're going to find out who the Exalted One in the Dark Order is soon. Like, I mean, it needs something to save that, or they should just make a complete joke of it, like Christopher Daniels kind of did with that vignette, which I thought was clever, and then just move on from the Dark Order. But let's talk a little bit about NXT, because, we just talked about AEW. Aaron, I'll start with you. This is getting pretty intense. It's a long feud, long history, because they were tag team partners, Ciampa, Gargano. What do you think of the end of NXT in the Performance Center with that crazy brawl that they did in the spots? That was something more than just wrestling. So I'll put that over because we might have a future debate, AEW versus NXT. What's your thoughts on that? To me, that's like the only thing that really stuck out this week.
I thought it was a great segment. I thought it was one of the best endings to an NXT show in quite some time. And I thought it was better than anything on AEW Dynamite this week. I'm really looking forward to their match, but again, what's the status of it? Will NXT TakeOver even happen, or are they going to postpone that as well? Who knows what's going to happen, but I'm hopeful they do a Hell in a Cell match. I really think that this is the right storyline and the right feud to justify doing a Hell in a Cell match, and to me that would be the perfect end to this story between them. They settle it inside Hell in a Cell, the first NXT Hell in a Cell match, and I hope they do that and keep that momentum going with that match, and then they end it on a very high note. Psycho Jet Black just sent in a $2 super chat deciding to go off topic on us, but I'll read it anyways. Do you guys believe that The Fiend will pin John Cena? I hope so, but who knows at this point. But we'll talk about that more later. Thank you, Psycho, for the super chat. Much appreciated. And NXT overall I thought was a good show this week, and AEW maybe a little bit below par, but still a really good show. Next week's going to be very interesting to see what happens with both shows due to this whole coronavirus situation. But yeah, NXT ending was fantastic.
All right. Now, son, what do you think? Are you big into NXT? I can never remember. I think you are.
I keep up with it every now and then, but mostly from takeover to takeover. But I did check out the YouTube clips of what went down, and just watching Ciampa and Gargano brawl, it for me, for the main roster, kind of remind me, it feels like a lot of the main roster brawls are kind of just become these generic pull-apart brawls. With this one, man, they were going into the office, into the the gym room. And then when they were going off that platform, like, it was amazing. Like, man, it just felt creative, like a fresh of breath air. I just wish we could see some.
Were you trying to trick me there? You said a fresh of breath air.
Yeah, I know. You caught me. I botched a breath of fresh air. All right, yeah, I knew.
I liked it the other way around because it was different. Go.
Yeah, but yeah, just when they went off that platform, everything, this whole brawl just seemed like it was completely fresh and new compared to some of the brawls we get on WWE TV. So I like it. And this, honestly, I know we're going to get to this topic later, but this could very well end up being a preview of what not just SmackDown is going to look like tomorrow night, but maybe WrestleMania. But we'll get to that later.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you. Big G, NXT Big G. You probably are loving that whole spot with all the craziness to end the show.
Like Josh said, it was a breath of fresh air, something different. I liked how what San said, I'm just going to agree with what he said, because that's me, Big G. I agree with somebody in this chat room. So I'm gonna go piggyback off of Son over there.
Well, we'll move on to a new topic. And speaking of WrestleMania coming up soon, they signed Rob Gronkowski, former tight end of the New England Patriots, who has some Super Bowl rings. I don't know how many Gronk has, one or at least one. But and of course, like they do with the MMA crossovers, I don't know how trained he is. We'll see what they do, but they're thinking, well, they'll get football fans invested into their product. XFL, right? So, Big G, I'll come right back to you because you're a Steelers fan. What do you think of the signing of Gronk? Is this official, by the way? Because I don't want to get ahead of myself. Or is this still a rumor?
No, it's official.
Go ahead. Rob Gronkowski. And are they going to call him the Gronk?
I don't care what they call him. I do not want to see Gronkowski in the WWE. His little stint that he had back at WrestleMania 33, if I'm not mistaken, when he helped Mojo Rawley, that was fine. Look at Cain Velasquez. They signed him over. He had one match, and now he has an injury. Tyson Fury, I think that was just like a one-off thing. But you have all these wrestlers that don't get hardly any TV time. Certain Cedric Alexander, and now Ricochet, apparently. You have all this great talent, and yet you're going to sign a major ex-football star to this big contract. And
what do you see what they're doing, though? He owns the XFL, and he's trying to get football people interested in wrestling. And, hey, well, we might check out the XFL. Gronk could become a coach, a player coach, part of the XFL, too, at some point because of his football. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to look at the business aspect of it, too, not just as a fan. I get totally what you're saying.
Yeah. No, I mean, eventually, if that doesn't work out with the WWE, he could do something with the XFL, like you just said. I mean, a coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, for all I care, he could be a cheerleader in the XFL. He's a damn good one. He likes spiking that ball. So,
Son, what do you think of Gronk?
Like Aaron, I'm not a sports guy at all. I just follow closest thing is wrestling and MMA. But I was there for his, I guess, in-ring debut at WrestleMania 33. So I got to see him in person. I'll say this, WWE does have some great legends. Ron Simmons, The Rock, who played football, and look where they ended up. So, I mean, I'm willing to give him a chance. If he knocks it out of the park, he does. If not, there it is. But I'm not getting super hype over it. Like I said, I don't watch football, so I don't know much about him. But, hey, I'm always willing to give anybody a chance if they're very passionate about the wrestling business. So hopefully it works out for him.
Well, it could be another contender for the 24/7 championship. Anyway, Aaron, sports, football player. I know you probably don't have too much to say. But go ahead.
Well, I got a question for you, Virtue. Maybe you could answer this. It's Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says Gronk is no Lawrence Taylor. So, Virtue, I guess my question is to you, or maybe Big G could answer this. As far as NFL star power goes, and maybe the chat room could answer this too, where does Gronk compare to Lawrence Taylor as far as being
He's no Lawrence Taylor. I'm saying that right now. He's no Lawrence Taylor.
Okay. Gronk is an offensive player that was often injured. He was a finesse player. LT was a bone crusher. So big difference. I would even put Refrigerator Perry from the Bears in the 80s ahead of Gronk. Yeah. Gronk has a lot to prove. As far as I know, Moose is still ahead of him in TNA as an ex-football player. So there's going to be a lot for him to prove.
Okay, so I think if he's good, then more power to him. But we got to see what happens with that. I'm willing to give him a chance. At the moment, I'm just indifferent to it. So I really got nothing to really add to the conversation here.
Well, like somebody says in the chat, Gronk does show a little bit of, because he was an offensive player on a Super Bowl winning team, and he did all the touchdown celebrations, and he danced with the Laker girls or something. He does have some charisma, so we do have to see how that plays out. That could make him somewhat entertaining and interesting. But again, we'll see. So with that said, I have a feeling we're going to be talking about this for the rest of the show. So let's just go to the main event. Let's bring this up right now. The coronavirus is happening, and sports events are getting shut down. travel bans. I mean, it's astronomical. They're worried about the numbers increasing, how many unknown cases are there, and WrestleMania is less than a month away, right? April. And here we are in a huge stadium in Tampa. It's not canceled yet, but what happens? Now, there's theories here of what could happen. So, Aaron, I will go to you because this is this drawing some good numbers for the site? Because,
so far it is, yeah.
Yes. Okay. This is weird because they can do a couple of things, and you and I talked about this. So before you start talking, they can postpone, and you have a good theory on that. And then we've talked about Performance Center. But here's what I am not a fan of. If they do WrestleMania instead of waiting, if we have to see how this virus thing pans out the next couple of weeks. Hopefully warm weather kills it and it dies down. Hopefully a vaccine. A lot of things we got to see what happens here. They should not do anything in an empty arena.
Right.
For a halftime show, it's okay. For one match like Rock and Mankind, not for this. So, Aaron, thoughts on the coronavirus mania?
We got a little bit of breaking news here as we're doing this. XFL statement. Currently, the XFL will not be playing its regular season games. However, all players will be paid for their base pay and benefits for the 2020 regular season. All XFL ticket holders will be issued refunds or credit towards future games. The XFL is committed to playing a full season in 2021 and future years. Womp womp.
This is talk about horrible time, Aaron.
Wow.
Like, I don't even know where you want to begin with any of this, but you're on the floor, so go.
I think that's the end of the XFL. If it comes back in 2021, we'll see. Maybe they will, but yikes.
Could this be the excuse of failure they were looking for? They won't blame it on a failure. They'll blame it on a virus, an untimely, like, I don't even know, but go ahead, man.
Well, I mean, yeah, they got an excuse now, so they do have an out. Ouch. Bruce just said refunds won't be much. There were no fans. Damn. So as far as WrestleMania goes, like we all know Vince and his ways, he wants to have the show go on if at all possible, but it's looking more and more like WrestleMania is going to be postponed. I don't see WWE outright canceling WrestleMania. I think they'll probably reschedule WrestleMania. What I could see them doing, I just cannot imagine WrestleMania at the Performance Center. It would feel really weird, although it would be an interesting crowd dynamic. But I think it's more likely what they'll do is they'll swap pay-per-views. They'll say, we are going to do WrestleMania, but it's going to be in July, and Extreme Rules or whatever's in July. I think it's Extreme Rules. Might not be. But yeah. They'll swap Extreme Rules and WrestleMania. Extreme Rules will take place maybe at the Performance Center on April 5th. And perhaps they'll, obviously from a booking standpoint, they're going to have to make a lot of changes here. Maybe do some of the WrestleMania matches for this Extreme Rules pay-per-view or whatever they end up doing. And then they got to rebuild a new card for WrestleMania. So we'll see what they do with it. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, have WrestleMania at Full Sail University. Again, it would just be weird for WrestleMania to be there. Like, if they do Raw or SmackDown at Full Sail and do what AEW
But they need people there. I know, you know what I mean? An empty arena show, like, is SmackDown going to be empty arena and Full Sail?
Well, no, it's not Full Sail. It's the Performance Center.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay, gotcha. So the Full Sail can hold a little bit more, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the little arena. That's what they would have to do for Mania, but they would have to get the okay to have that amount of people, even if they have to like test them all, and WWE pays for that. I don't care, but that would be the only plan B. Plan A, like you said, Aaron, would be reschedule.
Yeah.
But anything you want to add to that?
Well, there's still a lot.
I got a theory.
What's your theory?
So if it's not moved, first of all, it could still very well happen, but because it's such a mass gathering of people, government could shut it down. But again, we got to see where this thing goes in the next 7 to 10 days, 2 weeks, right? If this subsides down, all sports might pick back up by the end of the month. Everybody's, it happens. If it doesn't, Aaron, like you suggested, bump it down, change it with something else. That way you can prepare for it. You don't have to half-ass anything. But if it has to happen then, and they can't do the big stadium, go to Full Sail. I don't know how they can get the okay to fill that place. I don't know who would get the tickets. If it'd be the people that would have bought tickets closest to the ring. I don't know how they would get the fans in there, but you would have to still pack that place.
Right.
How do you make it feel important in a small venue like that if you still did Mania?
Yeah.
Is for the first time ever, just to make a buzz in the world, right? Because people are going to be at home watching TV constantly because of this coronavirus. Do it on Fox. Make a deal with Fox. Put WrestleMania on Fox, the first ever nationally televised event ever. That's the only way you could make it feel important if it got canceled and they don't bump it down to keep it in the stadium. So, Son, I want to talk with you. I wish, and I know that's probably a lot to ask for on short term, but if they can't do it in Tampa with 78,000 people, whatever, and they went to Full Sail and they did get the okay to fill that place, you put it on the WWE Network, it doesn't feel special. You make a deal with Fox to air it live on Fox, first time ever. Now you got the world talking, at least the wrestling bubble. Well, I mean, you think that would be a good scenario? I don't know all the logistics that need to take place, but it'd be a big deal, I think, to make something out of nothing. What do you think?
Well, yeah, it'd definitely be a way for them to make up for the money that they're going to lose out from everyone who can't make it, especially with there being a ban on Europe. There's just so many things. I mean, I think even looking back on this, if they do go through a WrestleMania, it's going to be interesting to look back on this as history because it's going to be like, wow, this is the only WrestleMania that was in a small venue or had no crowd at all. So it's going to be very interesting. There is so much, I guess, they can do if they want to go with the Performance Center. But yeah, is that going to feel right at WrestleMania? I mean, yeah, I don't know. And then if they do push it back later on, they've got to drag the rest of these storylines out for what's going to feel like just definitely a very unnatural amount of time. And yeah, I don't know. And I picture, all of us who watch Vince over here, he definitely has that mindset of the show must go on. But at the end of the day, everyone's health is important. So I don't know what they can do. And even if they do go through WrestleMania, I would hate to see where the roster ends up getting sick from this. And now you're done for the rest of the year because everyone can't compete. So it's a big decision Vince McMahon and WWE definitely has to make. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's an easy answer to this one, but definitely putting it on Fox is a good way to make it feel big. I agree with that.
Okay, go ahead, Aaron, first.
Okay, so the game is on 100 with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. He says, in Vince voice, I will move WrestleMania somewhere else, damn it. I can't do a good Vince impression.
Now, Aaron, before you read the next super chat, here's the thing. If they don't have it in the stadium, they're not going to have it in a big arena either, which they did WrestleManias in full arenas before. It's either you do it in the stadium or you probably would be lucky to do it in front of a few hundred people at Full Sail. So that's the thing. It's not like they can just bump to an arena. If basketball games and all the other sports are canceled, they wouldn't even be able to do that because, that's why we basically skipped from stadium to Full Sail in the Performance Center.
Right.
It's that if the government and states are shutting things down and you can't have mass gatherings of X amount of people, they don't have options other than postpone, cancel, or maybe a small, intimate venue, really small, with people tested. I don't know.
Yeah. My gut feeling is WWE, if they're forced to, they will reschedule for the absolute soonest date that Florida officials will allow them to do, and then have it so anybody who bought a ticket, their ticket will be honored for WrestleMania. I think WWE wants to make sure they keep their bottom line, so if they just reschedule it, they'll have most of those fans. I'm sure some people will cancel, but other people will buy tickets for it once this coronavirus situation dies down. So my gut feeling is they're gonna just postpone it for a couple months down the line. Now Shanti with a $5 super chat says, Full Sail actually fills up more than they pack as an NXT show. I have had a friend who worked there, and it is a larger venue than it is shown on TV. Well, there you go. I mean, they could always probably add in more seats. I remember the Impact Zone, they were able to to add in some more people as the promotion got more popular. So they could probably do the same thing for NXT if they really wanted to. We have a few more super chats here, so I guess I'll get to them and then we'll get Big G's take on all this craziness. Hamp Kana with the $2 super chat says, I could see WrestleMania happen so Vince gets the publicity. It's not going to be Vince's decision in the end. The feeling I have is that Tampa is waiting to see what Vince and WWE does, but I think they're expecting WWE to announce they're changing plans with WrestleMania. Otherwise, unless there's some kind of miracle and this coronavirus starts to die down over the next 7 days, I think the likelihood is if WWE doesn't cancel, we're going to have Tampa announcing that they are making the decision for WWE and the event is being canceled. Mike D with a $5 super chat says, I would just reschedule for the summer when supposedly the virus dies off. Yeah, I mean, we have seen events in June canceled, though. E3, the gaming convention, was scheduled for June, and that's been canceled. So there's no guarantee that this will be died down by June, but I think we're all hoping that will be the case. I could see WWE just trying to do it as soon as humanly possible. Psycho Jet Black with the $2 super chat. Thank you for that. He says, WWE should test all the wrestlers and employees. I'm sure WWE's taking all of the precautionary measures and keeping up on the health of everybody and making sure that this doesn't spread, because that would be a complete disaster if talent and people behind the scenes start getting sick. That would be really bad for WWE. That would be far more. The thing is, sometimes you just got to cut your losses. If you try to cut corners and you're trying to find a way to save as much money as possible, you may end up creating more problems and costing yourself more money in the long run. All right, Virtue, what do you got for...
I got a question, too, I want to ask, just to make sure, too. With all the money WWE is coming, if the worst-case scenario happens and they have to cancel out WrestleMania, the money that they're making from their network deals and doing the shows in Saudi Arabia, does that make up for if they cancel WrestleMania with everything they're making?
Well, this is really bad for Vince. XFL, right? We don't even know if that would have survived anyway. We don't know the fate of that. But WrestleMania, they bank on all the money they make for the gates, the Fan Fest access, all of that. So they're not going to give that up in a fiscal year. So that's why, Aaron's probably right. It would get postponed. It would still happen at some point this year. You have to think. I mean, even doing the Full Sail thing like I suggested doesn't even make sense unless, hey, let's put it on network TV on Fox, because we'll see if we're not going to draw Super Bowl numbers, but this is history. Maybe we can make a lot back in advertising. But even that is nothing compared to actually doing the whole deal like they normally do. So right now, I mean, should Vince McMahon be on suicide watch? Because this is awful for him in the company right now, especially since their stock's been falling. So Big G, what's your take on this whole thing?
I mean, you guys pretty much covered everything, from...
there's got to be something. This is a broad topic here.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, well, how about this? How about we do agree or disagree with Big G? So, Big G, I guess the question to you, if I could find your logo here, is do you agree that WrestleMania should be in a stadium, or do you disagree and you feel that it's okay if WrestleMania is held in a venue like Full Sail University? Agree or disagree, WrestleMania should always be in stadiums from this point for the rest of time?
Well, with
they could move it to Saudi Arabia.
Okay. With this situation, okay, I'm gonna disagree. It shouldn't be in a stadium right now, with this coronavirus. I like Virtue's idea, with the whole Fox situation. And
it'd have to be something that's newsworthy. And think about how many people are going to be at home watching TV. And Fox, pretty much everybody has Fox.
Because then again, you got to think about, you have the Hall of Fame. Are they going to do that in the Performance Center too? You would have NXT TakeOver Tampa. That would have to be at the Performance Center as well, or Full Sail, And I don't think Full Sail and the Performance Center are too far away. So maybe they could do a couple shows there and a couple shows there. And it all depends on, like, we don't know when this virus is going to die down. It could take a good couple months. And I like Aaron's idea too, being postponed, switching pay-per-views. I mean, you have Money in the Bank in June. So you might, you mentioned Extreme Rules in July. But if you would switch Money in the Bank and have WrestleMania in June, and then you would have SummerSlam still in August, you would still have a little bit of a gap between your two biggest shows. Or, you know what, you could say screw it and wait until August and just throw SummerSlam and WrestleMania together and just have one big show, and that way everybody's happy because, that ban from that travel ban is still in effect for 30 days starting yesterday. And, people just want to take precautions and whatnot, which I'm fine with. But, sometimes you just got to do business.
Now, Aaron, something similar to this happened at WrestleMania 7. They wanted to do in the LA Coliseum. And I don't know if it was Desert Storm, if they weren't selling tickets, the heat against Sergeant Slaughter, but they ended up moving to the arena. What's the backstory to that? Do you remember?
Yeah, they were trying to run at the LA Coliseum, and they were not selling that many tickets. Very disappointing ticket sales for WrestleMania. And
when did they make that change? Like they were going to do it there, and then they said, no, we got to do. Was that months in advance? I don't. That
it was several months in advance. I mean, okay. They announced it at WrestleMania 6 for next year's WrestleMania, but yeah, by early '91, I think it was when the Sergeant Slaughter storyline got going, and WWE tried to blame it on bomb threats and that sort of thing, using Sergeant Slaughter's heat to explain why they had to move from the LA Coliseum to the LA Sports Arena. I think Bruce is accurate here, but I'm not entirely sure of the timeline. But he says they only had 17,000 tickets sold 3 weeks before Mania. I could have sworn they changed it like more in advance, but maybe not. I don't remember the exact timeline.
See, so they scrambled. Now, granted, it's a different situation here, and but it's just funny like that. They had to change a venue heading into a Mania before, so this isn't the first potential time this would happen, but. That's why I think this all leads to cancellation and delay. It'll push it down later in the year if it does get canceled.
Vince to cancel, it ain't gonna happen. Tampa is gonna do what's best for their citizens. At the end of the day, I mean, it's gonna be a hit for them too, but they got to put public safety first, and I strongly believe that. Unless Vince says something, Tampa's going to have to make a decision for WWE, and it's going to be a very interesting week to see if WWE actually announces it on their own that they're going to cancel. But it's not looking good.
You think about it, a lot of schools have closed already for a certain amount of time. A lot of movie releases have been pushed back, due to like box office hits and whatnot. So yeah, it's crazy, but like I said, everybody's taking precautions.
And part of the problem too is that you have this travel ban that Donald Trump mentioned last night. So a lot of international fans are not going to be able to go to WrestleMania if it happens as scheduled. So yeah, that's another factor in all this.
Another thing, access, where you get to meet and greet the wrestlers, so you can't risk that, and that's usually another big part. So everybody has to remember too, outside of the 5 big wrestling events, Raw, SmackDown, Mania, and NXT Takeover, Hall of Fame, there's those events to meet it, and then during local areas, they'll have other wrestlers go and meet there, whether it be at a cell phone store or like at a mall. So much riding in on this.
Well, yeah, and Son, what makes it weird? We're hearing like Tom Hanks and his wife got it. Rudy Gobert, and now Donovan Mitchell on the Utah Jazz. Like, when you start seeing things like that, it's like, whoa, what the hell's going on? You know what I mean? And that's why events like this now are going to do this extra precaution, because athletes, actors are getting it. So and again, is this blown out of proportion? I mean, look at the stats, look at the flu. How fast is it growing? There's so much unknown about it. All we can do is speculate and wait it out and see what happens. But I mean, it makes for conversation, right? We all are clinging to our Twitter. I don't know who still watches TV and the news for this kind of stuff, but like we're looking every day, who's got the next case, what states are, who's getting quarantined now. I mean, it's nuts.
And like, well, Aaron posted in the chat, you know, Disneyland and Disney World, you know, the big amusement parks are shutting down too, you know. I mean, yeah, you know, everybody wants to take precaution to be safe, but I think then again, you know, some people, they're saying it's a pandemic and people are just, you know, freaking out big time. Like you said, it's an
the swine flu was a pandemic too in 2009, and a lot of people died from that. Yeah. There was Ebola, mostly in Africa. I mean, this isn't the first time this has happened in the modern era. Way back in the 13 or 1400s, the bubonic plague killed millions of people, but they didn't have the technologies and advances we do.
No.
So it's not like this has not happened before, but guess what? Now the social media era is in full effect. The way the media handles things, it's crazier now than other pandemics have been. And again, it's serious, but it's a fine line of serious and people blowing it out of proportion. It's like gray area. It's really a gray area.
Now, Virtue, Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, what if President Trump allows WrestleMania to happen?
I don't know. I mean, he could. He's the president, right? He can his final say over anybody. But I don't know. I always thought Congress could still overrule the president if he made a decision that was like, you know, that maybe shouldn't be. I don't know how that goes. But that's funny. We know he has ties to Vince McMahon in the WWE. He's not going to have any. He's not going to have anything to do with this. It's going to be the city of Tampa, WWE management, and like Aaron says, all of our great theories here, if anything at all, it'll be delayed till things are back up and kicking. That's what's going to happen if it's canceled.
It really sucks for the indie promotions that were doing events during WrestleMania weekend. They're also suffering because of this situation. So yeah, it's just a really bad time for everyone and for the wrestling industry. AEW is being affected by it. The indies are being affected. Everyone's hurt by this. So hopefully we'll have this under control soon and we can get back to normal as soon as possible.
Yeah. But, you know, you can definitely stay tuned for the latest, right? Aaron's going to be all over this on the potential breaking news, and whether it's moved, canceled, the show must go on. There's a lot of possibilities, and so we'll have to see what happens. Does anybody else on the panel today want to add anything to this as like a supplement topic? We'll give the NoDQ Galaxy in the chat some extra time to send some more comments if they'd like.
Yeah, if it comes down to it, do you all think if they can have it at the stadium, but there can be they can't have any fans there, do you think Vince, if that's his last option, he'll just go ahead and do an empty arena WrestleMania, empty stadium WrestleMania?
No, unless he gets it on Fox. There needs to be some other type of, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this, like airing it on Fox. That's the only way I think they don't postpone it. You know what I mean? There has to be like something that's newsworthy, that is revolutionary. And that would be the only thing I can think of that Vince and WWE could do. Hey, let's air it and let's put it on Fox. Everybody's going to be at home. We're going to have ridiculous ratings, and we'll cash in on some advertisement, and we'll make history.
And maybe
I can't think of anything else other than postponing.
Yeah, and if they do, WrestleMania, you know, wouldn't be that long as it was in the past couple of years. You know, do like a 3-hour, 4-hour show, and you'll have.
It's just so hard to perform without the people, and I just don't know how they could do it. The one like what Foley and Rock did different. That's different. Because they're unless you know you're performing in front of the people that are watching it at home, it could work. But I mean, how many people have the WWE Network? 1 million, 1.5. It's not going to boost up subscriptions if that's the only way people could watch. It needs to be like on Fox. You even on USA wouldn't feel special.
No.
So it would be postponed, son. That's what I truly think. If this thing can't happen in a month, Vince is going to push it to the summer. That's it. That's an ODQ review for this week, folks. The coronavirus mania. let's go around and do our plugs. And as it usually happens, if people have more questions or super chats as we're doing it, we'll pause for that. So Big G, since you weren't here the last several weeks, I will start with you. Go.
Yep. So NoDQ.com/Big G takes you to my Twitter page. NoDQ _Big G on Instagram. Jeff Feltz on Facebook. Go check out NoDQ.com/merch for all the latest merch on there. And you can still go to Pro Wrestling Tees, search NoDQ, and get that classic upside down Virtue Rage shirt. That is it. Yeah, you're upside down NoDQ. All right, that's it for me, son.
All right, so as you can see, there's my name, how it's spelled. That'll be where you can find me on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. So still working on the audio, mixing my dialogue for my upcoming short film, Battleception. You can see the trailer right now on my YouTube. Check out my latest artwork where I gave tribute to my friend if you're a My Hero Academia fan. Going to have another podcast discussion coming up talking about the Dragon Ball 4 main couples. So if you're a Dragon Ball fan, check that out there. And I just want to go ahead and let everybody know, I know for some people we're probably very scared with the virus going on, but remember to keep a balance, keep a positive mind, still live your life, not being in fear, but also do take the precautions to what you need to do to keep you and your loved ones safe. That being said, everyone, please always remember to support NoDQ, and that's all I got for right now.
Thank you, and thank you, Big G. Aaron Rift.
Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat just wanted us to know, I think I shared his comment earlier, but I'll do it again here since he super chatted. At least EC3 is more over than the coronavirus. Yeah, he might be at this point. But anyways, guys, there's a lot of news that is breaking and it's ongoing. Make sure you guys stay tuned to NoDQ.com. I'm working around the clock, keeping up to date with everything and letting you guys know what's going on with the most accurate information I can get. Doing my best here. There's a lot to digest, a lot of things changing from hour to hour, lots of updates. So make sure you stay tuned. Follow NoDQ.com. on social media at NoDQ.com. And as Big G mentioned earlier, the NoDQ.com merch store over at NoDQ.com/merch helped us support the site. We got t-shirts, we got the cups, we got all sorts of merchandise over there. So head over to NoDQ.com/merch for that. Virtue, go ahead and wrap us up.
Well, thank you for the NoDQ Galaxy for watching this live. This was I think we were up to 160 something at some point live, which is a record for the review. WWE, if you have any yes men and leeches that watch these wrestling podcasts and get ideas, just do what's best for everybody involved, fans, wrestlers, talent. If the show must go on and you're allowed to have an intimate show at Full Sail, maybe you and Fox can work out a deal like I suggested. If not, just postpone it. Wait till everything settles down and just do it as intended down the road in the summer. You can make that happen. Tampa Bay can make that happen. So for Big G, for San, for Aaron Rift, I'm Virtue. You can follow me on Twitter at NoDQ_Virtue. And why do I see TJS's logo up when I'm talking?
I had to troll you a little bit.
Yeah.
I was hoping you would miss it before the end.
Until TJS apologizes to me for some actions he did, that's the closest he's going to get onto the review is Aaron Rift doing that. But you know what? Never say never. Macho Man made the Hall of Fame. Ultimate Warrior made the Hall of Fame. So for the panel, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.